When Harold turned 70, he received more than just a cake and a few jokes about retirement. His daughter, a geriatric nurse, handed him a small plastic container with a screw-on lid and said, "Dad, you're peeing in this for science." Harold blinked at her. "I already gave you a sample last year." "This one's different," she said. "There's a new study. Researchers have found that certain markers in urine can predict how long someone might live after age 70. You're in prime territory." He smirked at the pun. "So my golden years depend on actual golden liquid?" She didn't laugh. "Just pee in the cup, Dad." The test, it turned out, measured a range of biomarkers, things like protein levels, creatinine, microalbumin, and a strange-sounding molecule called p-cresyl sulfate. These compounds in varying quantities hinted at how well the kidneys were filtering toxins, how the body was handling metabolic stress, and even how rapidly cells were aging. Harold wasn't thrilled about giving the sample, but he did it. Then he forgot about it until the envelope came. He opened it at the kitchen table while eating his morning toast. The letter inside didn't offer a definite number. "No, you have 6.5 years to live" in bold type. Instead, it laid out a score, something called a renal longevity index, rated from 0 to 100. Harold's score was 84. His heart gave a small leap. "84, he said out loud. He didn't fully understand the details, but he grasped the meaning. People with scores above 80 typically lived longer and stayed healthier past 80. Those under 50 were more likely to experience decline. Fast. He called his daughter. "I passed the P test." "That's great, Dad. 84 is excellent." "Do I get a medal? Or do I just go for a long walk and pretend I'm immortal?" She chuckled. "Go for the walk and drink water." Over the following weeks, Harold found himself thinking about the number more than he expected. He wasn't someone who obsessed about health. He liked his bacon and refused to call any meal plant-based. But the test made him look at himself differently. One afternoon, he sat at the park and watched other seniors shuffling past. A woman with a cane barely made it across the path. A man sat coughing into a tissue, face hollowed with fatigue. Harold wondered what their urine might say. Had they known at 70 what was coming? It wasn't just curiosity. It was the strange sensation of peeking behind the curtain of mortality and finding a hint, just a hint, of what lay beyond. He told his friend Walter at the senior center. Walter had just turned 71 and was full of skepticism. "You really think a urine test can tell the future?" he said, scoffing. "It told me I'm in the top tier." "For what? Hydration?" "No, longevity. Some university in Finland found that levels of kidney function, certain waste metabolites, and inflammation markers can predict how resilient you'll be in your 80s and 90s. They got data going back 20 years. Walter raised an eyebrow. "And what do you do with this information? Start investing in long-term bonds?" Harold shrugged. "Maybe I just stop worrying about every little ache." That night, Harold dreamed of standing in a long hallway, doors on either side. Each door had a number, and when he touched the handle, a voice whispered how many years he had left. Some doors said 7, others 13, and one said 19. He opened it and walked through into a field of sunflowers. He woke with a start. The sun was rising, and the dream left a strange sense of calm. The test hadn't made him fearful. It had made him aware. He began to walk more, eat a little better, and even joined a Tai Chi class, not because he thought it would save him, but because he had proof, biochemical proof, that there was still good time ahead, and he didn't want to waste it. The researchers had warned not to treat the score as a prophecy. It was a probability, not a prediction. But still, Harold liked knowing. He liked the idea that the body left clues, that urine, a humble, ignored fluid, held secrets about the future. 6 months later, Walter took the test too. His score came back at 52. "Not bad," he said, though Harold could tell he was bothered. "You've been smoking since we were kids," Harold reminded him gently, "and you hated vegetables until last year." Walter grunted. "Guess I've got work to do." But something shifted. Walter started coming to Tai Chi, even if he joked through it. He cut down on smoking. He stopped eating fried sausage every morning. Slowly he changed. Not because of fear, but because the test had shown him something undeniable. The state of his body was not a mystery. It was measurable, and therefore it was changeable. At the next community meeting, Harold stood up and talked about the test. He explained the markers, how high protein levels could mean the kidneys were leaking, how elevated urea and creatinine hinted at declining filtration, how the presence of certain metabolites correlated with oxidative stress. He kept it simple but clear. A few people signed up for the test the next day. There was never a moment when Harold forgot that death was coming. He was 70 now, maybe 80 in the blink of an eye. But there was power in understanding the terrain between now and then. Knowing how well his kidneys filtered blood, how efficiently his body flushed waste, how little inflammation coursed through his veins, it was like reading a roadmap. One that didn't tell him the destination, but did offer a much clearer picture of the path. When Harold turned 75, he threw a party. No theme, no special milestone, just a gathering of people he loved. His daughter brought a bottle of red wine and raised a toast. To Dad, she said, whose pee might be boring, but whose life never is. They all laughed. Later that night, as the dishes were cleared and the guests trickled out, Harold stood on his porch staring up at the stars. He didn't know how many more birthdays he'd see, but he felt oddly secure. Not because the future was promised, but because he glimpsed the science behind his own survival. How long would he live after 70? Long enough, he thought. Long enough to matter.